Hey everybody, Cameron here, and I'm back out here at Guadalupe Mountains National Park. Been a pretty good while since I posted a video from out here. I've actually been on a couple trips to Guadalupe Mountains National Park that I didn't post on YouTube for different reasons, and I may get into talking about that later on in this video. But for now, the plan for this trip is to head up to Bush Mountain tonight, staying at Bush Mountain campsites, which is the highest campground in the state of Texas. And I got several different goals and objectives to hit on this trip that I'll sprinkle in along the way. Hopefully you might see some things you've never seen from out here before, or get some new trip ideas. Anyway, seems like I'm gonna have some wind to contend with today. They had snow and ice not last night, but the night before. So I saw some still up in the high mountains, so I may run into some of that. So there's no telling what we're going to run into on this trip, but I'm just excited to be back out here. I'm going to head up the Tejas Trail right now and over toward Bush Mountain. So the winds are very gusty out here. The forecast is only calling for 10 to 15 mile an hour winds today, but even the park ranger said, obviously we can't believe that. That big storm they had a couple nights ago was bringing 75 mile an hour winds, and I was supposed to be here then, so I pushed my trip back a couple days. And this is much more pleasant, and I think the wind should die down somewhat relative to how they normally are in the Guadalupe Mountains. They should die down a little bit over the course of this trip. Touching my drone for the first time in the trip, and that's such a cool feeling. Such a cool tree. Oh, that's a cool one. Look at all those berries all over the tree. Love my drones. Love them. Saw my first tiny bit of ice or snow left over from the other night. Driving in on the east side of Frijoles Ridge, the side that faces the highway, you can see quite a bit more snow and ice up toward the top, up near Bartlett Peak. So for anybody not familiar with the layout of the park, Pine Springs, where I'm parked, is back over this direction. If you're hiking Guadalupe Peak, which is what probably 90% of people come out here to do, it's over here on this side of the mountain. You can see this is a horse trail. It's like a bypass trail coming up the side right here, and you can't see Guadalupe Peak, and you can't see it for a while you're actually hiking. It's way back there in the back. And then the Tejas Trail is going to come up this direction, and I can see it right in this line right here. And it's going to go up and go around the edge of this, and then the actual main ascent is on the back side of that. So if you come out here to hike the backcountry and you're not doing Guadalupe Peak, you're basically split off from most other people in the park, which is one of the reasons why I love coming out here and backpacking here. My first tiny bit of ice left over. We're not very high up right now. It's just been in the shade all morning. I can see quite a bit of ice over in the shaded areas up on the side of Guadalupe Peak. That point right there. I've always wanted to climb that. It's right off the Tejas Trail. It's got a little arch on it. See if I can zoom in, not at a great angle to see the arch, but it's right up above Devil's Hall. And I think I'm gonna give it a shot on this trip, try to make it up to the top of that. It's looking back down the way we came from. You can see the highway and the parking lot, visitor center. My first look around this side of the canyon. big, beautiful mountains. Right here on this point where the trail turns, I'm gonna hike a little path right over here and try to make it up. Man, that's a pretty ridge in the sunlight. See the arch a little better up there. Man, what a cool spot in the park. That is Devil's Hall right there in the center of the shot. Not quite lined up with it where you can see down in there, but then let me pan up and check this view out right above me. It's Guadalupe Peak in the middle. And there's the arch. All right, right over there is where I was just standing taking those last few videos. I walked around to the other side. Definitely can't get up over there. So I tried skirting directly next to the cliff, and that's not really a good way either. But it looked like I can drop down just a little bit, and then I think I can make it over to this side. This has been fun exploring around up here. This has been a little tougher getting to the very top than what I had imagined, but it was really easy getting up here close to the arch. Yeah, so my last clip was right down there. The arch is directly on the other side of this big rock. Came over just a little ways, and it looks like there's a chute on the way up right here, and if I can't make that, I can probably keep going around a little farther and maybe make it up. See somebody hiking out of Devil's Hall. Alright, I made it to the top. Extremely windy up here. That's the arch right down below me. Sorry for the wind, that's just the way it is. Man, what great views. Woo! From the top of 6756. Finally made it up here. Wow, that was incredibly windy. I'm sure you couldn't hear anything I said up there. Point 6756, that was awesome. Could have done without the winds, but that probably made it a little more epic. Anyway, gonna skirt the side of this, get back over there, get my bag, and continue on up the Tejas Trail. It's a little different angle of the approach to the point 6756 I just did. So start the off trail there. And then that's the point there. And the way I ended up going, I skirted around this side, the side that we're on now. Went more toward the back and then back up to the highest point. First ocotillo I've noticed. Those are really cool plants whenever they're in bloom. They'll look dead a lot of the time, but they put on awesome little green leaves and flowers on the ends. Just rounded the bend. You can see the Tejas Trail zigzagging back and forth up this face in front of us. At about 1,200 feet, I think. 1,200 feet or so to go up to the crest. And I'm going to end up higher elevation than that, but it'll level off quite a bit once I get up there. That is Shumard Peak. That's the third highest peak in Texas. And there's Bartlett there in the center of the shot next to Shumard to the left. Bartlett is the fourth highest peak in Texas. And hopefully that'll be the first one I summit tomorrow. That's my main goal of the trip. Cool view looking back down to the desert floor. All this is definitely more powdery snow. A lot of the snow's melted on the trail on the way up here, and it was pretty much just ice. Made it up to the trail crest, the junction, the Tejas Trail, and Bowl Trail, and Bush Mountain Trail. Hunter Peak's right back there. Hunter Peak is the 6th highest peak in Texas, the 5th highest peak out here at Guadalupe Mountains. And this is a perfect place to take a little break and eat a little snack. Then I'll be headed on the Bush Mountain Trail over that direction. Still have quite a bit more elevation to go, but the main hardest part is over with. I absolutely love that whenever I stop to take a break, I can usually find fossils in some of the rocks nearby. So I still have quite a ways to go up. I think I'm sitting just south of 7,900 feet or so right here. And my campsite's at 8,400 feet, thereabouts. And if I summit Bush tonight, which is like a quarter mile or so past my campsites, it's like over 8,600 feet. So still got a ways up to go. Plus there's several little small mountaintops in between here, there, ridge tops. So I kind of got to go up, down, to get where I'm going. But I'm a little over halfway mileage wise, about 4 miles in. And I think I got 7.5 miles, almost 8 miles total today if I go to Bush Mountain and back. I'd like to make it there for sunset, because that's an absolutely beautiful sunset if it's not too cold anyway. So just enjoying my lunch real quick. Able to get cell phone signal here. I have for a long time. I think maybe when I first started coming here it was real spotty, but you get 5G, like perfect signal right here. So this is a good spot to check in if you need to. Able to text my wife, and then I'll put it back on airplane mode and head over on the Bush Mountain Trail. So for lunch I'm just having these Duke's sausages. I get these at Walmart. I think they have them at like HEB if you're from Texas, and they're really good. They taste really fatty, and it's like something I kind of crave while I'm out backpacking. So they come in a pretty good sized pack. I'm able to split up a pack. This is half of a pack, and I don't even know if I'll eat all this right now at lunch. So having these for lunch, and Cliff Bar, just something real quick and easy, and then heading on. All right, here we go on the Bush Mountain Trail. Little surprised to already see some footprints here. I know it's not going to last, but it's nice to be in here amongst the trees, blocking most of the wind. Made it to the Pinetop campsites. This is the first campsites you'll come to. So here's one tent pad at Pinetop. Check out the view from your tent. That's not bad. And believe it or not, you're mostly out of the wind right here. Well, it looks like somebody stayed right here last night in the snow. I'm just taking a look around the Pinetop campsites. Yeah, this is such a cool section of trail over here on the Bush Mountain Trail. Just amazing views. This is what the trail's headed up, so I got a pretty good climb in front of me. Bush Mountain, second highest mountain in Texas. Bartlett, Shumard, and Guadalupe Peak. Oh my gosh, finally hiking on an area of the ridge that's not windy. Wind has been a beating, and this section of trail has been a beating. After I came over that first summit after I ate lunch, pretty much everything past that has been tough because it's been quite a bit more snow that's melted and turned to ice. So the trail has been tough going up or down. There have been some really cool sections. I think I got a video of it, that all the ice that was on the trees that's broke off, it's piled up in it. I mean, it looks wild underneath it. Anyway, over the last couple summits, and then I'm going across a little saddle right now, and then I'll be going up Bush Mountain proper toward the campsites and actual summit. Wow, that ridge between Bartlett and Shumard looks a little more wicked than what it does on the topo map. Had to get my gloves out and put them on. It's definitely colder as I've gone up in elevation. Wind still hasn't stopped. That last little part of the trail, that was super nice, getting out of the wind for a little bit. Well, made it to the turnoff for the Bush Mountain campground. There's the summit of Bush Mountain right over there. Still a pretty good ways up above me. Turn this way. There's Bartlett. Go check out a potential route for in the morning. See the salt flats down there. I kept hearing and seeing all this stuff fall out of the trees. I thought there was a squirrel or something up there, and I realized it's the ice melting and falling off. This is the tent pad that I'm picking. I know it's not great. I think it's wide enough for me to fit a one-person tent or tarp into, and it's not under trees, which are dropping a lot of ice right now. I know overnight it might not, but I'm trying to keep my tarp from having any sharp ice or anything like that falling on it. So I'm gonna get set up and get changed, try to let my clothes dry out and try to warm up. All right guys, got my shelter and sleep system all set up, so I'll give you a look inside and show you what I'm going to be using to keep me warm tonight. Here you go. This is the Z-Packs pocket tarp. It's less than 6 ounces including the guy lines, and the net tent inside is the 6 Moon Design Serenity net tent. You can see there it mates up perfect, just clips right to all these guy lines. It's a carbon fiber pole. I haven't been using trekking poles the last year or two, and that pole is really lightweight. That pad right there is the Thermarest NeoAir NXT. It's the newer version. It's a wide, slightly thicker than the old version. I think a little bit warmer, which I'm probably going to need tonight. The quilt is Enlightened Equipment Conundrum. It's a 20 degree and it zips up. So that is definitely a game changer, and it helps out a lot out at places like Guadalupe Mountains where you got winds all of the time. Cuts those drafts down. For my pillow, you can see that stuff sack there up at the head of my bed. It is the Z-Packs. It's a stuff sack that turns inside itself, and on the inside, when you fold it to the outside, is a piece of fleece, and it's made for you to stuff your clothes in and use as a pillow. And this will be the first time I'm ever using that. I didn't buy that. Somebody sent it to me whenever I ordered a piece of gear from them. So that was kind of cool. So I thought I'd give it a shot, because I don't normally bring extra layers on my backpacking trips, but on this one I sure did, because I definitely want to stay warm. Anyway, I think it'll be a pretty good setup, as long as it doesn't get much windier than this. And honestly, looking at the forecast, things are supposed to die down. for the remainder of the trip. I got my pack sitting over here. There wasn't a great place to hang it up, and I'll throw it inside the tent with me tonight when I get in there. That's Bush Mountain right there behind us. And I'm gonna hang around camp for a few more minutes, and then I'll probably start heading up that way. I don't know if I'm going to the summit or not. I'll probably end up there, take in sunset. If not, you can get cell phone reception from the edge right over there, not too far from where you get off the Bush Mountain Trail to come back here to these campsites. Radio tower up on top of Bush Mountain. This is the summit of Bush Mountain. Second highest mountain in Texas, 8,631 feet. Only 120 feet or so lower than the highest point in Texas. I'm gonna walk over toward the edge and wait on sunset. It's pretty nice up here. There's a survey marker. This one says 8626. Absolutely amazing view. Looking north, back into New Mexico that direction. I'm really glad I came up here. Sunset has been great so far. Sun's just about to hit the horizon. This has been really pretty. This is definitely one of the highs. Backpacking trip is nothing but highs and lows, highs and lows. Parts of the hike today feeling great. Parts of it sucked. The ice and the snow. Feeling a little down at camp over there, and then I'm really glad I came up here. This was exactly what I needed. You can see the lights of the oil field kicking off over on the other side of Frijole Ridge. I made it back to the campsites. Take one last look over at the sunset. Beautiful. There's the sunset from my tent. And it's still standing, which is nice, and the wind is, for the most part, died down. Getting a gust every once in a while, but hopefully gonna have a good night. So I used to only use these 1 liter platypus bottles, and I really love these things because when you got to carry a whole bunch of water like you do out here, they pack into pretty much anywhere. And the best part is they fold down completely flat. You can roll them up whenever you're done with them, and it saves you a ton of space in your backpack. So like on this trip, I brought 4 of the 1 liter smart water bottles. I brought 1 of the 3/4 liter smart water bottles, and I like to keep that one on my shoulder strap. And then I brought 2 of these platypus 1 liter bags, and I keep those down in the bottom of my pack under my dry bag. And I've never had one leak that I can think of, but they've done a great job, and I love bringing these 1 liter bottles. I'll usually take this, so like what I just did was took this and pour it into the smart water bottle and drink from it. You can drink from these, and I did for years, but I do prefer drinking from the actual bottles. But these are great for being able to haul a lot of water. The 3 and 4 liter platypus bladders, those aren't great because they don't pack up well. But these 1 liters, you can layer them in or put them wherever you want. Well, guys, that's the end of night 1. Not a lot to report back from camp, just kind of hanging out in the dark. Anyway, we'll see y'all in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Just got packed up. I think it's around 6:30 a.m. Mountain Time. And kind of decided last night before I went to bed that I was going to wait a little while this morning before I got out and did anything, just because of all the ice and whatnot. But just restless, I guess. Been in there for 12 hours, so I'm ready to get up and get moving. So I'm going to leave my tent set up, and I got my sleeping pad and couple things in there. It's kind of wet underneath from where I was sleeping on top of the ice, so let that stuff dry out, hang out here, take everything else I got, and head over toward Bartlett. And that's the plan for this morning. Hopefully it's not too icy, we'll see. But yeah, here we go. You can see the sun hitting up at the top of bush right now. That's what I'm ready for, be in that sunlight. I don't think it got down to freezing last night. Maybe upper 30s. Really not sure. It's pretty cold. But the wind almost completely died down last night, which was awesome. And I actually almost slept a little too warm. I didn't sleep in my jacket. Used it for my pillow. But I had everything else on, and yeah, almost a little too warm last night, so not a bad problem to have. And what a view this morning. So that's where I started at up there. So I've come down a pretty good ways, and I can see now this is more my line over here. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to go down and then come back over to this ridge and go up. It looks steeper up toward the top, or if I'm going to go down and make my way around here and go up that longer ridge, which looks like an easier route. Vegetation is getting thicker. That's where I came from up there. I'm down at the bottom of the ridge. I can see up near the summit now. I was starting to second guess taking this ridge. It's been all ice and snow and super thick vegetation. And I can handle one or the other, but that was tough down there toward the bottom. But now I'm up above most of the ice. So now I just got to deal with the vegetation. Stop to take a little break. I'm about 200 foot or so, maybe 250 from the top. As you can see, it's still been icy most of the way up. It is a little thinner than down at the bottom, but it's still been challenging. Yes. Woo! Oh man. Took me an hour and 15 minutes to make it up here. I was trying to make it in an hour, but it was tough coming up that ridge. Well, here goes the 360-degree view off Bartlett Peak, the 4th highest peak in the state of Texas. 8,508 feet. And several thousand feet above the desert floor below. And that is Bush Mountain over there, second highest mountain. That's where I was last night. That group of trees there in the middle, that's where I camped at last night. It's Shumard Peak, 3rd highest mountain in Texas. That's the gypsum sand dunes right there in the center. Those are a part of the national park. And back there where all those fields are at, that's Dale City. I can see Sierra Blanca Peak way out there in New Mexico, very snow-capped. I don't know if you can make it out, but the little pyramid that's on top, I can see it there at the summit. I don't see anybody walking around, but that's not to say there's nobody up there. I will come up and do Shumard another time and probably just come up the wash and make a ridge and make it straight to Shumard and back that way as a day hike. So that just gives me another excuse to come back out here, right? So on my way over here, I left from over where the trees are at, came down this ridge here, but then came back across this direction, ended up coming over this way of Bartlett. And I did that because I was thinking this side looked a little steeper and had way more snow and ice, but the way I came up had plenty of snow and ice. So I'm gonna go back down this ridge. You can't really see it, it's right here in front of us, and then connect back in that ridge that I came down and make it back up to the campsites. The snow is definitely a little deeper over here, and it's not as icy, so sinking down a little bit. I just came down through the center of that forested section on this ridge, and the snow was definitely deeper, and it was actual snow, so sink into a few inches. But that was way easier coming down so far, and now I've made it out into like low scrub brush. And I'm glad I went the way that I went on the way up there, because that would have been tough hiking up through that snow, but it was not too bad coming down. Just made it to the low point. And I'm crossing the little wash. I'm about to start back up on this side. Can't see the top from here, but it's a ways up there. Just made it back to the trail. It was about a 2.5 hour round trip, including the time I spent at the summit, and I stayed there a pretty good while. The ascent back up this side toward Bush is definitely way easier than going up the Bartlett side, but I think a lot of it is. It's on the side of the mountain. The vegetation's a little more sparse, and all the snow was already melted. So coming back up wasn't too bad. Headed back over here to my campsite. Gonna hang out there for a little bit and rest up and figure out exactly what route I want to take this afternoon. I got all my stuff packed up. Moving over to this other site over here. It's more in the sun. Got my stuff laid out, trying to dry out. So I was supposed to have this tuna and crackers last night for dinner. I was just laying there and never really felt like eating much, so I had a couple snacks and that was about it. So it's not even lunchtime yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and eat this. Try to get some calories in me, let my stuff dry out a little bit more. Alright guys, so I'm heading out of camp. Had a good long break, enjoyed the food, and what I decided to do is head back the same way I came on the Bush Mountain Trail over toward Pinetop. I'm going to hit Hunter Peak after I pass Pinetop and go down Bear Canyon. That's the plan, and then stay at one of the car campgrounds tonight. Only other footprints out here are mine, headed the other direction. And a bunch of snow has melted since yesterday. Trail's pretty clear, and a little farther back where the snow is actually across the trail, it's very slushy, so I wouldn't imagine this would stick around more than a couple more days. That's where I'm headed over there on the left. 6th highest peak in Texas. Alright, I just got back to the trail junction here with the Tejas Trail, and it's kind of neat to see how much snow's melted. Quite a bit so far. I'm going to stop here long enough to swap water bottles and maybe eat half a Cliff Bar and then head on the bowl trail. It is about 1 mile to Hunter Peak from here. Just past my first other hiker of the trip. That is one cool thing about coming to this side of the Guadalupe Mountains as opposed to the Guadalupe Peak side, is you're going to see very few people, especially like it's a weekday right now. That's usually when I can come out here. So I've been on trips out here before, multi-day, and never seen anybody. It's pretty nice. Now that we're in the bowl, you can see quite a bit of evidence of the fire they had years back. And the bowl is still awesome, but it was even better before the fire. Hopefully it comes back in the decades to come. This is actually good powdery snow. I'd much rather walk in this than a lot of the slush I've been in. A couple small blowdowns right in a row. First ones I've seen, they're right next to each other. So right here the bowl trail splits, and you can go left and it'll cut through the center of the bowl, take you to kind of the back corner, and then you can either jump over on the Juniper Trail or turn back to the right and make a loop out of the bowl trail, that is an awesome section back there in that back corner. I'm going to continue on this way up toward the peak. It is quite a bit snowier back here on this back side of Hunter Peak. Just passed a couple more people. Alright, this is the junction for the spur trail to go up to the summit. I think it's only like a tenth of a mile, maybe 2/10 up to the top, and then when I come down I'll be continuing on the bowl trail this way. Really awesome views from the top. This is my third or fourth time up here, and views are always spectacular. Here's a look back north and east. Well guys, made it to the top of Hunter Peak. This is the sixth highest peak in Texas, 8,368 feet. Now I'm gonna head down and start down Bear Canyon. Well, I spent way more time at the summit than what I had intended to. There was a gentleman up there that from Connecticut, and we got to talking about all the different places and things we've done and seen, and yeah, I talked for a while, and I finally had to peel myself away because I got to get going. Very slushy over here. Bear Canyon's the steepest trail in the park. It's not as long as some of the other ones, but I'm glad to be going down instead of a little bit better look down the canyon. You can see the trail zigzagging down there. There's Hunter Peak where I was just at. Man, it is nuts how steep this trail is. First flower of the trip. So this water pipe that you'll see through much of Bear Canyon is an old pipe from back in the ranching days, and they used to pump water up from the springs at the bottom to a series of water tanks at the top, and they would graze cattle up there in the bowl, and they would use the water to water their cattle. You can see the trail exiting the canyon there in the center of the shot. I'll show you how much farther I got. And there's the top of Bear Canyon where I started at. Hadn't seen a madrone in a bit. That's nice. And that feels cool. Coming into a pretty cool area of the trail. Wow, first little bit of fall color here. Most of the park is past prime, and a lot of the leaves have fallen off, as you've seen on a shot of the trail. That's a pretty tree. And it is amazing how cool it feels down in here. It feels really good. It's starting to get hot out there. I've been looking for this tree the whole way down the trail. I always thought that was super neat. There's Nipple Hill. Cool little point in the park. Freeholder Ranch House is directly in between me and Nipple Hill right now. Man, it feels like I have been coming down forever, and I'm still not at the bottom of this thing. All right, I made it to the trail junction. So I made it down from the top of Hunter Peak and down Bear Canyon in exactly 1 hour. Now I'm starting on the Frejole Trail. We got 1.5 miles to go to get back to the parking lot. El Capitan sticking out. Well, getting close to being done. That's the big wash right there. You cross right next to the campground. Thought I'd give a few final thoughts. The winds definitely died down today, so that was nice. This trip overall, I will say, has been way hotter than what I was expecting. When I checked the mountain forecast a few days ago, I think it had to have been quite a bit lower than this. Plus, I've dropped down some, and down here by Pine Springs, it's quite a bit hotter than up on the mountain peaks. Anyway, so overall, pretty good weather. I did knock off Bartlett and 67.56, so I'm pretty happy with that. I've only been out here hiking for, I don't even know if it's 30 hours now, and 12 or 13 of those hours was spent in my tent last night. So I feel like I accomplished a pretty good amount in the amount of time I've been hiking. Plus I added on Bush and Hunter Peak, so that's not too bad. And then back across the wash one more time. Be really cool to see this thing with flowing water in it. We're just in a tiny little section of it right now. This thing is really wide. All right, guys, gonna call this the end of the trip. It was a pretty good one. I enjoyed it for the most part, and I appreciate you guys following along. Sorry it was so long of a video, but trying to provide as much information on the trails and peaks as I can. Anyway, thank y'all for following along and watching, and we'll see you next time.